So I'm going to teach you a few design basics on how to style a shelf. I picked this shelf in particular because it's got 3 levels. It's a little more complicated, not really, because it's all the same design basics, but I feel like that's where people kind of get stuck. So this one is styled how I see a lot of shelves styled, and people say it doesn't look right. I don't know why. I'm going to tell you why right now. Because you notice everything's kind of lined up. It's all kind of the same height. And I feel like people just keep adding more to the shelf because it doesn't look right, because they don't understand the first design basic. So the very first step that I want you to do is pick a shelf. Pick a shelf in your house that you're not happy with. It doesn't even have to be a shelf. It can be a mantle. It can be the top of a hutch, anything where you've kind of got everything lined up. So that's step one. You know what? It can even be a shelf that you haven't hung up yet. Go find a shelf. Okay, now that you have your shelf, we're moving along to step two, which is clear off your shelf. Now, if you already, you dug one out from under your buffet, like my friend Elena doesn't have anything on it, you can skip this step. But if you're restyling a shelf, you're going to want to take everything off of it. Okay, now that you have your shelf all clear, we're going to move on to step three. Step three is to pick an anchor piece. And you want to pick one for every level that you have. So I'm going to pick 3 different ones. And the reason you want to pick an anchor piece is because if you don't, you end up with how we had our shelf looking before. Nothing, everything is just kind of floating around and looking cluttery, right? So we want to pick an anchor piece for each shelf to kind of ground the space. So I'm going to pick, for the first shelf, I've decided to use my baptismal certificate. I know that's weird, but I came across it the other day and I loved how it looked. And I thought, why is this laying in this box in the basement? I'm going to frame it in this pretty frame and I'm going to put it in my office. So this is anchor piece for the first shelf here. Now, we're probably not going to use all this stuff, so I'm just going to kind of decide as I go what I want to use, and then what we don't use, I'm sure we can find another space in our house, right? Okay. I like this vase. It's vintage. I like the cream against the green. So I'm going to put that right there. Now, for the third shelf, I like these purple flowers in my certificate here. So I'm going to use these flowers here. So you notice I didn't line up all the anchor pieces in a row. I kind of varied them. Okay, so that's step three. So step four is you want to use different heights of the things you put on your shelf. So you don't want to put, like we had before, this tall vase next to this tall frame. Again, that's why it doesn't quite look right. That's why it looks cluttered, because everything's the same height. So we want to go in and add different heights. So see how we're doing that? And we're going to cluster our clocks together instead of lining them up. I'm going to put those here. See, it kind of looks better in a cluster rather than lined up. And then I like the wood in here. Want to vary your textures too. Let's see. Put that here. And that here. See how it's already starting to look a little better. Okay, so step 5 is layering. And what I mean by layering is, see how I called it cluster in the last step, but they're not lined up. They're layered in front of each other. And I want to stick another layer. I like this little thing from a typewriter. I'm going to actually hang it up in the shelf if I can figure out where I'm using a push pin, by the way. They're clear and they work great, and you can't see them. They leave a really teeny hole, so that's awesome. You'll never see the hole when you decide to change your mind and move it around. Anyway, so I'm going to layer that in there. So you see how it's kind of got things in front of each other. And I decided I'm going to put this book in this right behind there too. Actually, if I want to move it around, yeah, I'm just going to stick it right behind here. I'm going to layer it in there. So you see how, and I didn't put this like that. I decided to angle it. So again, it adds some depth. That's why you want to layer. It's not so flat. It's got a lot of interest this way. So one more step. Okay, so step 6 is you want to make sure that you're working with odd numbers on each shelf. I don't know why, but odd numbers is more aesthetically pleasing than even numbers when it comes to design. So you see that I have 5, 3, and 5 again. That's another something you want to take into consideration. You don't want them all to have 5. So these 2 have more than the middle shelf. You kind of want to spread it around. I did the cream pottery on each shelf. I did the purple, a little smidge of purple here, and then more purple on the bottom. I kind of mixed some textures around too with the wood, the gold, the gold, the gold. So you don't want to have all of one thing on one shelf either. You want to make sure you kind of spread the textures, the finishes, and the colors throughout. And one final thing, don't forget your blank wall above your shelf. I found this picture with the kind of all the elements in it, right? A little bit of cream, gold, black, and I'm just going to hang that right here. Whoops. There it is. What do you think? Under an hour, way better. So if you like this video and you actually learned a little something about styling, please consider subscribing. I will be uploading a lot more styling videos soon. And if you like to learn with a bunch of like-minded people, consider joining my online community, the Vintage Edge Collective. You can click on the link below. It's $5 a month, or it's $35 for the whole year. We have a lot of fun with a lot of people from around the world.